Hello guys, and welcome to the Gentlemanly Podcast with myself, Troy Francis. I am the author of 11 books about romance and modern societal issues between the genders and so on and so forth. Loads and loads of interesting stuff. The Gentlemanly Podcast is where we dive deep into those issues and we talk about modern masculinity. It's a podcast for men who navigate love with wisdom and purpose. And today we're going to be talking about Stoicism in the complex world of modern dating. Now, Stoicism is something that gets talked about a hell of a lot in this space, and there are countless books out there, not least by Ryan Holiday, talking about the value of Stoicism and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to retread all of that, but I think it's something that we should be aware of, and it should certainly be an arrow in our arsenal, if not the main arrow, because I think there are other things that are also useful. But essentially, modern dating is the cruelest mistress there is, really. This has been something that my colleague James Tusk often says. I don't think things are getting any easier out there. I was reading an article earlier, or I started reading an article earlier on Substack, and by the way, I'm on Substack now, so you should follow me there. And Substack is where I publish a weekly essay, plus other bits and pieces as well. You need to get on the paid tier so you can get access to the full content. It's only like it's like $10 a month or something like that. But we need to get into the habit of embracing detachment and our own purpose as far as the dating scene is concerned, and really as far as our lives are concerned as well, because as I was saying, dating has become this increasingly complex battleground. And this article I referred to regarding Generation Z and how difficult they're finding things, I'm very glad that I'm not 18 or 19 anymore and just coming into this. I really, really am. I mean, it's it seems like there's been a sort of coagulation of different factors which have made the relationship between men and women, or the relationships between men and women, more and more fraught as time goes on. And they're multifarious and they are sort of interconnected. One of them is obviously the dating apps. Another one is Instagram and the sort of the expectations that Instagram and social media in general engender in women and men. And the sort of inflated sense of what we can get or what maybe we could be getting comes through very strongly on those platforms. And then you've got the dating apps, and you've got this statistic that gets bandied around a lot. It was certainly quoted at the beginning of that article where it said that 80% of women only find 20% of men attractive. I would need to check the data on that. It's certainly something I've heard a lot. How true it is, I don't know. As I say, we need to do a deep dive into the data, but let's assume, for the purposes of argument, that a majority of women find only a minority of men attractive, and then clearly there's a problem. Now, the only thing I would say, to pick holes in that slightly, is that it's not necessarily the same 20% of men, because as much as the naysayers out there think that it's all about certain things, looks, height, and jawline, and money and stuff like that, actually it's not, because women, of course, are individuals and they like individual things. So there's a woman out there who's going to go for the city banker type, who looks great in a suit and who earns a certain amount of money. Then there's the girl who's going to go for the homeless guy, not homeless guy, but you know what I mean, the drifter who plays guitar really well and he's very artistic and all the rest of it. And then there's another woman who's going to go for the guy who's a painter, who's a trust fund kid, but he's incredibly artistic and he has ambitions to create his own gallery or whatever, right? I mean, there's thousands of different types of guys out there, and there are billions of women, billions of men, and people have different types. So it's not like, I think there's a misconception when this gets talked about that there's this 20% and it's this fixed 20% of people, and it's only a certain type of person or a certain type of guy who's in that 20%, and if you're not that type of guy, basically very muscled and very rich and very tall, then you're completely screwed. And that's not the case, because women have different tastes, in all types of things, in physique, in age, in hairstyle, in what the guy's into, in what the guy's interested in personality types, and all the rest of it. So it's not as dire as people would paint, but nevertheless, the truth of the matter is that there is certainly a disparity there in terms of the number of women being attracted to men. And most women that I talk to, I've got female friends and stuff, and they'll often say, yeah, most men I'm just not attracted to, and that's just the reality of it, okay? Which is why, and of course, the converse of that is that women tend to get loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of attention on dating apps from guys. And men don't, for the most part. Now, some men do very well. It depends on a number of things. I guess how good your pictures are, probably where you are geographically. Those are maybe two of the main things. I mean, if you're very good looking and you're somewhere where there's an outsized number of women, or somewhere where you have exotic value because you're, say, foreign, or you have some certain aspects about you or your lifestyle or whatever that look particularly good, then yeah, maybe you're going to do really well. But it seems like the majority of guys aren't doing hugely well on the dating apps, or they're getting a few matches a month, and a lot of those are flaking or catfishing or whatever. Which is why we're still in business. It's why dating coaches, we still have a job, because if it was as easy as, okay, just go online and get on the dating apps, then there wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't need to be discussing all of this stuff. And actually it would be a lot more efficient and better for everybody if it did work very well, but it doesn't seem to work very well. Not even for women, because women complain about the dating apps the whole time as well. Anyway, we're veering slightly off topic here, or at least we're setting the scene for the topic, which is that fundamentally, you need to embrace detachment and purpose, okay? And it's got to be away from all of this dating nonsense. Now, this might seem slightly counterintuitive, given that my content has largely been surrounded or focused on the dating side of things, but the Gentlemanly brand is not entirely about that. I mean, it is somewhat about that, but it's also about just living life as a gentleman, and what's the best way of doing that. And the best way of doing it really is not focusing your entire life on romance and finding the one, if such a thing exists. It's about being detached, and it's about having a purpose that is bigger. And this is not new, right? This has been said a lot over the years, and it's been said because it will help you in practice as far as your dating is concerned, but it will also help you in your life, because your life, yes, finding a great woman to settle down with, and maybe having children and having a family and everything, that may be a huge aspiration of yours, and that's great. But nobody really, except maybe Casanova, very hard to think of many historical figures who are known for the partners that they had. Henry VIII, maybe, I don't know. I mean, Charles Dickens was married. He had a whole bunch of kids. I think he had various, affairs and mistresses and things, and nobody gives a damn about any of that. All they care about is the books that he wrote, okay? Because a man is judged not on his offspring or on his romances, for the most part. He's judged on what he produces in the world, okay? Which is why that is more important. And counterintuitively, or maybe intuitively, if your focus is on that is to say what value that you are bringing to the world beyond just being a Casanova figure, the more attractive you're going to be. Because women know that the value that you can provide to the world over and above being able to attract women is attractive, right? Because it means that you're going to be able to provide resources. It means that you're going to be able to probably get your way in the world. It means that you're probably going to be in a better position to protect her and provide for her and all of those kinds of things, okay? So it's good on both fronts. It's good on the dating front, but it's also good on the front of just having a decent life, all right? So how do you become emotionally detached? Well, it's a chicken and egg question, and it's not one that's very easy to answer. Intellectually, firstly, I think you have to just realize that it's something that's very important, and you just have to do it, okay? You have to practice it, okay? It's a bit like meditation, right? Meditation is difficult, or I find meditation difficult. It's not easy. It's not something you just go, right, okay, I'm going to start meditating. Now I'm great at meditating, problem solved, It takes me, I have to practice, I have to build up. It takes me a while to get to 5 minutes. Then maybe I can do 6 minutes, then maybe 7 minutes, and then maybe I just leave it for a few weeks. And then it's something you've got to, firstly, intellectually recognize the benefit of, and then secondly, practice it on a regular basis so that you actually get good at it, all right? And it's precisely the same thing as far as detachment is concerned, okay? and having a purpose. So you've got to recognize, and you can even write a mantra to yourself. I know people who do this. They write a mantra to themselves, and they wake up every morning and they read the mantra out, maybe in front of the mirror, and they say, my purpose is here to communicate with the world. It's to tell people, it's to teach people, it's to pass on my experience, strength, and hope to other people, in the hope that maybe I can offer some value to the world. And that purpose, which may make me money or it may not, hopefully it does, but maybe it won't, but whatever, that purpose supersedes everything else. It supersedes me getting a girlfriend or having kids or doing whatever, because that purpose, that thing that I can bring to the world, is ultimately more important than my personal relations. It doesn't mean that my personal relationships are not important, quite the contrary, and actually if you find the right person, they can really help support you. But it means that you should prioritize them, okay? So you need to firstly just be aware of this, and secondly you need to practice it, okay? And you need to practice it in real time. And I mean, a classic example of this is that, say, you know, you've got to write a chapter for your book, and then some cute girl that you've been trying to get to come on a date with you for weeks suddenly hits you up and she's like, oh, why don't we go on this date? And you're like, oh yeah, no problem, fine, I'm going to drop everything, I'm going to meet you on the date. Well, really, you shouldn't do that. What you should do is say, actually, no, I have plans this evening, because I'm going to be, you don't have to tell her, but, you know, I'm going to be writing this chapter of my book. I have plans this evening. Can we reschedule for Tuesday instead? Now, she may say no, and you may have lost your window. Well, tough shit, okay? Because you did the right thing in that instance, which was to prioritize your goals in life, your mission, and to make that more important than just going out with this random girl, which may or may not have ended up in a good situation or not, you don't know, okay? Now, if she is somebody who is, let's, for argument's sake, I mean, she doesn't know you yet, so this is maybe a little bit of a weak argument, but if she's somebody who cares about you and who is not superficial and who isn't just using you as a time filler, you know, it's like, oh, I haven't got anything else on Tuesday, I'll hit up Troy and get him, you know, see if I can get him out. Then she should be prepared, she should understand, and she should understand that you're not going to be available like 24/7, and that should be fine, okay? If she has a big problem with it, then maybe she's not the sort of person that you want to be with anyway, all right? So that's another way of thinking about it. Cultivating resilience and self-control in romantic pursuits. Now, this is something that we have to talk to guys about a lot, and again, I said earlier, it's a chicken and egg thing, because until you have some experience, what can often happen is that men become very, very enamored of the first woman that they meet who shows them any attention at all. And we've seen this multiple times over the last year or so with different clients who have done training with us. They met a girl, you know, through a daytime approach or in the evening or whatever. They've got on well with her, they've started to date her, and then suddenly they fall in love with her, and everything else goes out the window. You know, suddenly everything else goes out the window. It's like, oh my God, you know, she's the one, I want to marry her, blah, blah, blah. And look, we are not in the position, I am not in a position to tell somebody what they should do with their life, or to say, I think that's a bad idea, because how do I know, right? Maybe it is the love of their life. It's unlikely, because how do you really know after 3 months? But maybe it is. So I'm not going to say, don't do that, but I am going to say, I think you should attempt at least to spend a bit of time getting to know that person, and not, you know, throwing the baby away with the bathwater, as it were, and going all in with that woman immediately, right? You know, it takes a time to get to know somebody. It takes 3 months, it takes 6 months or whatever to get to know somebody. And it is important, again, to be intellectually aware that resilience is required here, okay? Because we pretend as guys, you know, we pretend that we're not emotional, we pretend that we're these incredibly logical and stoical kind of people, and we're not really. Well, unless you're a bit of a psychopath, which some people are, but most people aren't. You're pretty much entirely run by your emotions, to be honest, and we have to pull back from that. We have to think about, no, okay, what is the mission? The mission is not actually some random relationship with somebody who may be unstable, who may not be right for me, who may not even have my best interests at heart. My fundamental mission here is to do X, Y, and Z, and you should know what that is. And if you don't know what that is, then you need to find it, okay? And we can talk about that. I mean, you can jump on a call with me, email me, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can jump on a call and we can try and figure out, okay, so what is your purpose? What is the thing that you actually want to do with your life if you're not sure? But you should be sure. You should have an idea of what you want to do with your life over and above being breeding. I mean, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying that's not a wonderful thing to do. And I mean, maybe that is the point of your life. Maybe that is the point of your life, is to raise a child, to raise a new generation and to teach them and all the rest of it. But I would suggest that the greatest men in history are not known for the fact that they had kids. In fact, it's very hard, apart from Genghis Khan, to think of anybody, any historical figure at all, who is known simply for the fact that he had a lot of kids. And even Genghis Khan isn't really known for that. I mean, that's a sort of a side issue in his story, okay? So if you want to achieve something great in the world, which you should, and which will make you more attractive, or at least you want to attempt to do that, which you should, and will make you more attractive, then you have to prioritize the vision. And to do that, you have to embrace detachment, and you have to embrace purpose, okay? So hopefully that has been of some help. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. Do embrace the Stoic path. I have books, I have courses which will help you to do that, and I also offer personalized coaches. So if you're interested in that, you can drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or you can send me a DM on one of my social platforms, @realtroyfrancis on X or Instagram, really the main ones now. And I will be in touch. So I hope you like this one. Let me know your thoughts, and we will speak again very soon. Bye-bye.